We are back talking about the reality of Hollywood and what you can do mentally and business-wise to establish yourself in the film industry. And today with special guest actor Matthew Rhodes. So stay tuned. Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the reality of Hollywood. And as I mentioned already before, today I have a very special guest. We know each other for a couple of years already, and now I have him here. The legendary, the guy, the man, the actor, Matthew Rhodes is in the house. Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Ben.
Don't be so shy. I meant it. I feel it. I really mean it.
Yeah, no,
How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm not quite legend, but
oh, come on! I mean, I saw so many performances of you. Seriously, I mean, of course. I mean, I even saw it live. Because we worked on some projects together, guys. Right? So you definitely have to check him out. But thank you so much for for being here.
No,
I really appreciate it.
For having me. Yeah.
After COVID, live back again, right?
No, it's exciting. You keep things moving, Ben, and you're constantly working.
I'm trying.
You really don't seem as though you ever stop, and you're on set all the time. And I know when we met, you were just creating. You were writing,
right,
you were directing, you were producing.
Right, that's right.
You were making it happen, and you were,
I appreciate that.
You were getting projects up and running with a really wonderful, generous,
oh my God,
perfectionist sort of process, and then you actually finish. I mean, you complete, and then you move on.
That's very important. And it's funny you say that because it's interesting. Honestly, that's a very good topic to even start off with, because I believe if you start something and you have an idea, just finish it. Complete it. Because I feel like a lot of people just get stuck in this kind of process of building something or creating something from scratch. And I'm always saying to all my people, just finish it. You never know, Maybe it's going to be great at the end and you're going to be proud of it. But I just wanted to start from the very beginning, by the way, guys, because we have to talk a little bit about Matthew, obviously. That's why he's here. Yes. And I really wanted to start because I think a lot of people don't know your beginnings and where you come from. So if you don't mind just telling us a little bit more about your background, where you're from originally, and how you got into acting, and most importantly, why you got into acting.
Yeah, sure. No, it's a
lot of questions.
It's always it's humbling to be asked that kind of question and be able to share my story in any way. I don't, tell that story too often because it is so personal, know. But no, it's interesting to look back and see the road I've been on. So to where I'm at now, because I only started training for on-camera work for film and television about 6 years ago.
Nice.
So I've been working about 5 years as far as film work and whatnot.
Right.
But I'd say I was born very, very connected to live performance. Okay. So I was always drawn to it. So whether I saw something, I remember drawing when I was very little, literally kind of designing a film studio in our yard.
You kidding?
Like a treehouse thing. I'd never built it. I did not complete that project.
Okay.
But from very young, I was very much inspired by films. Right. Kind of the old classic films where they'd put on a show or whatever, or, I had enough, introduction to how they were filming certain old, kind of the old MGM classics and things like that, where I was, I just grabbed onto that. And then I would, as soon as I could, get out to theater. And so I, growing up, I, got into New York City as much as possible to see live theater. So, and I went in all the time. So I saw, between 300 and 400 plays and musicals in New York. And I saw a lot of things over and over again.
Wow.
So I was just drawn to it. And then I did community theater.
Okay.
And I did, some higher budget community theater.
Right.
As I was, for fun. It was like a hobby.
Yeah.
I had friends in the industry.
Right.
And friends that had great success in the industry. So it was fun to be adjacent in a way to either New York, the theater world, or out here with film and television.
Right.
So I got to really know what working actors go through and how they have a tenacity about them, how they work on their craft, and how they, they just go. The journey. They really love the journey. It's part of their destiny.
Right.
So for me, I knew that if I did pursue it, that it would have to be 100%.
Right.
And 6 years ago, I was in a crossroads with making a decision to do one thing, and then the acting came up multiple times where I thought, well, that's what I need to be doing.
Right. So
for the rest of my life.
So you had this kind of, because it's interesting that you say that. I was talking to Benjamin last week, the cinematographer, and we also had the discussion about that you have this one moment in life where you kind of stop and you kind of reflect on your life and what you saw already, what you experienced, maybe watching all those plays back then, and now they're maybe coming to a position where you feel like, I got to do this now. I got to make a decision right here and now. I got to move on with that because that's part of my life, and I know it. I just have to pursue it.
Yeah, it was a very reflective period. I in fact, was very engaged with a group of people to maybe walk the what is that trail in Spain?
Trail in
where,
Spain.
Yeah, it's a kind of a pilgrimage trail in Spain that is, like it takes 30 to 40 days to hike it. And you literally, you stay in hostels or people put you up when you get there, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And El Camino, that's what it's called. So I had done a lot of studying and, and talking to people and seeing if something might work out where maybe a group of us do that trail. We never wound up doing it, at least with that group.
Right.
But in a way, when I left that, I was in the mindset to really focus on what I need to be doing purpose-wise.
Right.
What I really need to be doing.
Yeah.
And that's where it came up for acting so strongly, because it is scary to make the jump.
Yeah.
And especially if you're older.
Totally.
You're kind of set with, your income source or your work, what you think you should be doing.
Yeah.
Or what's comfortable to do.
Right, exactly.
So I had three things happen over that year.
Right.
And the third thing kind of knocked me, not badly. It was a friend just saying something that she didn't even realize she was, saying in the way she said it. And it just made everything connect. So I think there was a good preparation for me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't haphazard,
Right. You just needed that last thing, like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And she and I both know. I mean,
that's interesting.
We both are like, oh yeah.
Right.
That was a moment, and I'd say it was 2 days after that that I made the call to this to a studio that I thought would be the best studio to enter, and I was really nervous. I was very nervous because I had not done on camera work before, and I thought, I'm older, they're just going to laugh at me. I knew I could act.
Right. Yeah.
I knew I can act.
Right.
But I went in and. And
how was that?
Pretty quickly it opened up.
How was that for you, though? Just because a lot of people always ask me, how do you feel when you act? And how was it for you for the first time? So how would you describe that? Let's say you come on set, the first time that you are in front of a camera, right?
Yeah.
And you just decided for yourself, that's my life now, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So how did you feel emotionally? Like, because for me personally, that was kind of like a roller coaster within me, because I was kind of nervous, but I was excited at the same time.
Yeah.
I felt like I'm confident to do it because I had training before, so I was preparing myself, but still being on set with the crew and the rest of the cast for the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't mess that up here right now. No, seriously, I can't mess that up because
the perfectionist
people are relying on me, But how did you?
It's the German in you.
It is. I mean, it's pretty much it's the German in me, you guys. Yeah, you got it. But how is that? How was that for you, though, the first time?
Yeah, no, I love telling that story because the whole journey for me has been really exciting. I mean, I've had some not so exciting parts of it, but all of it is leading to the same place, wherever that is, to hopefully a successful career in film,
for sure,
and television. So I was in class and in scene study and doing audition technique and cold read, doing all of these fundamental things for on camera. I had worked enough to, kind of get the tightness out of my face and all of those things that you need to, have your instrument working well.
Right.
There were a number of people in class that were talking about auditions this, audition for that. And I hadn't even done headshots yet. So,
wow.
But I had started working on my branding.
Right.
And to get ready to get headshots.
Yeah.
But I decided, okay, I can't take it anymore. I have to, I need to put myself out there. So I just sent out some submissions on LA Casting or Backstage or both, I think. And I got 3 responses quickly. One was an open call in Culver City for a judge show. I ignored it the first time.
I did the same thing, by the way.
Did you? Yeah. So, no, but it was like, but I hadn't, I had a friend take a picture of me. It was horrible, but it's what I used. I got a resume together. I had a lot of theater credits.
Right.
And I brought my car in on a Tuesday for, an oil change and said, well, it's right up the street. I may as well walk. So I walked up the street, walked in on this open call, and you had 2 tables, long tables with producers sitting. They had us just sitting. There were maybe 6 of us at that time. Yeah. They paired us up, got us up, and did some improv. And you had all these producers looking at you, and they said, "Well, we're gonna hello." It was Byron Allen's company. Right. So he has a whole kind of menu of shows that he does.
Yeah, for sure.
And he said, well, we'll improv you, and then we'll have you go in the back, fill out some forms, and if we're interested, we'll call you. So me and this guy did some improv. They then paired us up with these 2 girls, did some more improv, and said thank you. I started walking to the back, and a lady producer came up to me and said, "Hi, hey, are you free to maybe do something on Friday?" And I'm like,
"Well, that was quick."
I was like, "Is that how this works?"
That's interesting.
So I said, "Yeah." I hadn't even filled out the form. So Friday, getting on set, and you're in makeup and wardrobe and all of this, and my wife, partner in this, and we had a son, actor. The 3 of us were in a room for maybe 3 or 4 hours rehearsing with the director, writer, producer, one of them. And it was exciting, but part of me was like a little terrified, because you're talking about bright lights, you're talking about a closed set that's this judge show set. Yeah. You have a room full of people in the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're going to be up there improving whatever they've sent you. And they sent me something about being a card collector, stamp collector, coin collector. My son's friends stole my collections, and I'm suing him to teach him a lesson. And but it was really fun. I mean, when we finally got up there, just working with the actress, who just became a really generous person to me afterwards. She offered to connect me with headshot photographer and an agent as well.
There you go. That's how it happens in this town. You meet people on set, even you connect, and something leads to it. It's so interesting.
No, every project I've done has led to some valuable connection.
For sure. Totally.
Either a colleague or film. And it's nice to try to keep that network alive and
for sure.
show interest. I see what you do.
Right.
I may not see everything you do, but I keep up. I try to keep up.
Which I believe is because at the end of the day, it's really about networking too. You have to say that, right? I mean, you are talented, and you have to be talented, obviously. So people want to see good talent on screen. But I'm always saying, if you are the most talented person, but no one knows about it, and no one knows you, and you don't know anybody. Right. You can be the best actor in the room, but if no one knows you or knows anything about it, what's the deal? So, and I just wanted to ask you something, and because we always talk about that, and we talk about the things like, okay, how do we establish ourselves, and how should we do it? And that's also obviously to the audience. And you always said something to me that always stuck with me. You said, okay, it's about the branding. You got to know your branding. Obviously, you have to know your skills as an actor, but you also have to know the branding, how people visualize you. And how How would you describe that to someone who's really trying to get into the industry and wants to make a name for themselves? How would you describe the word branding as an actor?
Yeah, some people don't like the word.
I know.
Yeah, I'd say, I think something that you need to accept as a fundamental tool,
right,
is having your what's representing you, your marketing tools, right, as best as as high quality as possible.
Right.
So what I have learned just through great teachers is that with branding, it's important to know what casting sees in you, right, in seconds. I mean, right, they don't necessarily know, they're not going to know all the words to say necessarily. Yeah. Some of them may, right, but they know how to cast you, and they're looking for you to walk in the door and knowing that very specifically, what you do, what you bring, in just 5 seconds or less.
Right.
Just as your essence.
So you have to express it. You have to carry it.
No, you don't have to carry it. You don't have to carry anything. You just walk in. You just are. You don't have to do a thing.
Right. So you have kind of an aura.
It is your essence. It's not anything you're portraying or showing, right, or need to work at to show. It's what is just obvious, right, when you walk in the door. When you're not known, and you don't have important credits, I guess, that will make those A-list casting directors engage, right, with you and want to see you. Yeah. They don't know who you are. You have That's to right. kind of shine, and the way to do that is to focus on what your essences are, which would be your branding. Yeah, so it's really for me it was a process of collecting those adjectives and having other people kind of in a systematic way. Right. I have these exercises I had people go through, to kind of work through, so I can collect those adjectives. And it's nice because there's a gap that we have between how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us.
Good point.
And many people have that gap. And as an actor, you want to try to close that gap.
That's right.
So that's what this process is to know what you bring in a room.
Right. That's so interesting that you say that, because at the end of the day, even if you think you know yourself very well, which is great, but that doesn't mean that we all know how people see us. I think that's really something you can't just be subjective about how you feel about yourself and what you think people maybe see in you. You basically did it exactly how you just said it, right? You just asked people, you had a conversation maybe, hey, how would you describe myself? Like looking at me, what kind of adjective comes up when you just look at me, or the way how I'm carrying myself, how I behave, or how do you speak to me and stuff like that.
It's not even that. It's just sitting there.
It's just sitting. It's just sitting there.
It's just your essence.
Interesting.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Interesting.
There's nothing you can do about it. So for me, I think some of the surprises I had were that I had a friend say I had a kind of mysterious, when they first we're talking meeting you in 5 seconds. Right. A first impression kind of thing. That there is that mystery, like, whatever words you want to use. I mean, that's when you're trying to actually figure out what your brand is, you can play with those words and see what words really work for casting purposes. But I do have this kind of mysterious thing that I bring into a room. Even though I'm not mysterious, I feel I'm very open with people. In a friendly atmosphere. I'm certainly very friendly. But I don't think, but my face, my eyes.
That's very interesting.
Whatever my eyes do and all of that gives a sense that I'm keeping something from somebody or have something else going on. Yeah. So all of that I discovered in that process and had to embrace that, because that's what I bring into a room.
It's crazy you say that, because I had the next thing in my head already I wanted to ask you, because we talked about that every time, and a lot of people always come up with, oh my God, I don't want to be stereotyped. I don't like that. I just want to be diverse. I'm so creative. And a lot of people talk to me about that. Hey, Ben, you always played a certain kind of role, a certain kind of thing that you have. And people ask me, and they're like, why is that? And I was like, hey, you know what? that's just your thing. That's my thing. People see me that way, so you gotta serve it. You gotta give people also what they like you seeing in, you know. And I feel like that's something you, as you mentioned before, you have to accept that too. I think you should not fight it. And honestly, at the very beginning, because you mentioned it right now, this mysterious guy, I play similar roles, like very mysterious.
Oh, I know. No, you've got that kind of evil thing with the eyes, right? No, but you play.
Do I look evil to you right now?
No, but your eyes are so
they're more set
striking.
back a little bit.
Yeah, but they also pierce you.
Interesting.
You know, so my eyes do similar things.
Yeah.
And it's very specific. I mean, so the branding really is you figuring out, peeling the onion on exactly what kind of person do I bring in the room? What kind of economic status am I? Am I educated? I know that I bring in intelligence. I was given that a lot in with different teachers, and I thought, okay, well, that's something I can't. Right. So for me, it became easy at some point to be able to write out more or less what kind of character thing I can do. Right. And then I started. Then I got my headshots to match that. Right. For theatrical work. And then right away, work was coming. Work.
Isn't that interesting?
And then all these titles of these films that I did, all represented the kind of character that I played. You know, I played troubled dads and loners. I played one of my first really wonderful short films was a homeless person.
I saw that actually. I remember.
Sure. And that film was a special film for I think all of us that were involved with it. But for me, I can play that kind of troubled loner, with a secret, maybe with a past, with an aching heart. I've got that aching heart thing, that compassionate side. Yeah. And then I can also play the compassionate authority figure. Right. Whether it's a psychologist, a therapist, a doctor, lawyer.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Police officer, things like that. Right. So, so it's branding I find to be such an important, critical.
For sure. You have to know your range that you're in. I think you definitely have to understand that as an actor, because I feel like I'm always thinking you can be so diverse and so have a lot of variety and you can do different things, which is great. But I think, as you just say, just reflect on how people see you as well, and then really build on that range that you basically get back from people and trying to be the best in that range.
Well, you can't help. You can't help it because that's your essence.
Exactly.
Like when you're working in your essence in a character on set.
That's right.
You find once you have really good training. Right. You don't have to work so hard. Like I know for me, when I do get coached on certain auditions, right? My great coach or whoever I'm with, I try to get the best. I try to get in front of the best people. Right, right. They literally say, Matthew, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything.
Isn't that interesting?
And I'm like, you're right, I don't. Because I've learned that. I already learned that, that, okay, I don't have to really do much. Right. Because it's my essence. Right. So that's where knowing that. It's not necessarily about a range. We can do a whole range of things. But what you have to do is know exactly what you bring into the room. That's right. In that essence of yours. And then things can open up where people can see you in other things. But that's after you have some... good credit, where they can see you outside of that. I think a lot of actors maybe don't focus on their
for sure
essence or brand themselves so specifically, and then it can be muddled, I think.
When you talk about bringing something into the room too, and just kind of working on that. So I just wanted to ask you, when let's say you come on set, it's in the morning, you come on set and you play one of those characters that we just talked about. Let's say taking this mysterious person, right? So how did you basically behave on set? I'm just really interested in that. So let's say you come on set. Are you already completely in character? You stay in character for the whole day? And how do you kind of create your own environment? Because for me personally, and I said that to Benjamin also, I'm always trying to create an environment for myself where I feel like, okay, I need this environment to be the best I can be here today. You know, which also means to me most of the time that I'm really trying to don't really talk too much, because I really want to keep that essence that you talk about, you know? Right. So I'm just curious, like, how do you do it? Let's say you come on set in the morning. What is the first thing you do, even maybe before you come on set?
Yeah, I think for me, some of the things that I noticed I wanted to be good at or train in, not necessarily in class, but on sets.
Right.
Is like when you audition, you know, you're in the audition, you're in the lobby or whatever, and you've got people asking you questions, bumping into you, you know, somebody sees you that they may know you and say, you know, there's always these opportunities for them to break into your space.
Yeah.
You know, and in a way you have to be able to protect enough of what you're going to bring so that you can go in there and deliver.
That's right.
So, but on set, when I'm working, I find it actually easier than auditioning.
Same here.
Because to me, there's less nerves involved.
Same
you know?
here, yeah.
So for me, I can, I do protect myself. I know what I need to do.
Right.
I've already come in onto set having done my homework.
Sure.
So I'm ready. I've loaded in what I need to load in. So when I do, you know, need to get something started for character or for the scene, that I am already prepped for that.
Right.
So I can actually let go on set and talk with some people. It depends on the role.
Right.
I mean, for me, whether it's a dark role or not doesn't matter so much. I think the intensity is what I do. You know, if I have an intense scene, usually a director's protecting his or her actors.
Right.
So we, you know, are allowed to, you know, get to the places we need to get to.
For sure.
Maybe we've even had time to rehearse that as well.
Yeah.
So that's where I absolutely protect it, but I'm not necessarily cutting myself off. I've worked with actors that have done that.
Right.
And I respect that. I respect their process.
I do too. Yeah. I feel like whatever works for you, you know, that's I'm always thinking like we're all different people. And if you have, and by the way, I totally agree. If it's a very intense role that I know is coming up, I tend to be more for myself because it helps me to really build up this kind of momentum that I need to be very like intense in this kind of scenario.
Piercing and evil.
Yeah, you know what? That's
well, you got that. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? That's what I'm really trying. So, but it's so true what you say. It depends on the role. If it's more like an easy thing where even more comedy involved, where it's even more like a comedic thing, I'm even trying to be more outgoing because it helps me to kind of like create this whole environment of everybody is like open and just talking. So again, it depends. But the thing is, what I wanted to ask you too, when you go into character, right? And a lot of people always talk about method acting. That's one of the buzzwords these days, right? Method acting. You know, these kind of. So what works best for you to get into character? How would you describe your process?
You know, I've learned through great teachers.
Right.
A method of breaking down a scene and a character and doing that prep work.
Right.
So there are, you know, certain steps that I will go through to do that work.
Yeah.
And they're very specific.
Right.
So it has to do with knowing what your want is, what your need is.
Yeah.
What obstacles you have, internal, external, what kind of stakes you have. You know, the feelings that you may be feeling as a character in that scene, the relationships that you have with everybody, everything that is associated with that scene, having connections, loaded connections, whether you call them as-ifs, substitutions, whatever, having those ready and loaded in. Sometimes I will try on. I'll have different substitutions ready, and if in the moment I'm not necessarily feeling what I need to be or want to be with that connection, I will then play with that or have to kind of re-choose how I'm going to relate to that other character.
Right.
Sometimes I will find something in that moment with that actor, or
Right.
that's
so true too.
But I don't do that as a rule. I find it stronger to have more personal choices for those relationships.
Right.
So it's a lot of work. You want to know your moment before. You want to have your intentions more or less understood, at least.
Right.
The options for your intentions.
Right.
And then when you're able to play with that a little bit,
right.
you can
do
it different ways.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I do all that homework.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's awesome that you say that right now. For me, you feel like you have ready to go what you're trying to achieve, because you always have this kind of goal when you play a scene, right? You always have this purpose, the stake that you want to hit, right? I think that's something that I'm always trying to build up to. That's how I do it. And I just don't want to change complete topics, but I definitely also wanted to talk to you about that because, as I always say on the show at the very beginning, it's about the mental side, mentally, right? And how you got into acting and the creative side of things. Yeah. But then again, I definitely also wanted to touch on the business side as well. And you mentioned already branding, for example. And I believe branding obviously is part of the business side as well.
Absolutely, it is. It is very much so.
Exactly, yeah. and the thing is, I feel like a lot of creative people that I meet in life or met in life already are very creative, which is great. I truly respect that, and I really admire that. But I also feel like I think some people maybe are so creative that they forget about the business side too. Because at the end of the day, since I moved to LA, I realized even more how much of a business it is and how much money involved is in this industry. Yeah. And I feel like at the end of the day, you just have to understand how to brand yourself, almost like how to sell yourself, because you are also like part of the machinery, like the product at the end of the day, who's now being cast to be on the show or be on set and do what you were supposed to do. Absolutely. So how do you try to find the middle way of having, like I'm always saying, wearing my business hat, but still being the creative person that you are? Right. How do you combine those things? How do you make that work for yourself to not lose one of those sides?
It's a good question. It's a very good question.
Thank you. Thanks.
The questions are they're all so good.
The first time I asked a question.
I'd say as an actor, if you are looking for a successful career, I think you need to have that already going for you. Right. You can definitely get better at your skill, your technique, your skill, honing that, being ready, having your preparedness really top notch as it can be. You'll always be learning along the way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
With the business side, if you're ignoring it or uncomfortable with it, you might be able to just learn certain specific things, but embrace it. Right. Embrace it, and hopefully that becomes an equal part to what I heard from who I find to be a great teacher. Said that you have these three components that should be equally balanced. Okay. As an actor, so you have your skill. Right. What you do.
Like the creative side?
The creative side, right? Your technique, your skill. Right. What you do. Yeah. The business side. Right. And your mindset. How you approach things. How you,
Interesting.
So
very good point.
Each component really needs to have the same amount of attention. Right. And care and embrace, and being able to embrace each one of those. Right. So if one is off, it's going to affect the other two.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're 90% focusing on your skill, maybe the business side isn't. It's out of focus for you or whatever. But I think if you can identify certain things that are fundamental. And you'll learn that through great teachers. Right. Maybe a book or somewhere out there is helping you. I don't find that any book gives you every answer. Right.
Totally. I agree.
But if you can embrace that and then just try to do the work, networking is a business element. Yeah. Try to get involved with filmmakers who are going to maybe help you get the reel that you need or the scenes that you need at a quality that you need. It's it can be tough. I feel very lucky because when I started, I really didn't stop. I was very lucky to be going from from short film to a TV set and
right.
et cetera, and a couple of national commercials, and then coming, after all these years and having a lot of different connections to film festivals and all of that. It's been amazing, but I've had a lot of things that I've done that were not quality.
Yeah.
Or I could not use on my reel, for example.
Right.
But I was lucky because I had so much.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I was able to get these wonderful kind of, clips or pieces of film that just showed exactly what I do at my branding essence level.
Very interesting point that you're raising right now, because I feel like a lot of people always say, you know what, I don't want to be on the short film. It's not even paid. Why would I do that? Why would I work on a short? And I'm always saying, because of exactly what you just said, because you maybe get this one specific scene that shows your quality in this specific character, how people even see you. And you can use that to leverage even more, to get more opportunities because of that one scene. It even happened to me. People see that online.
Absolutely.
They see a scene and say, wow, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We need that guy right here. We don't even have to do anything. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I feel like a lot of people undervalue the importance of a show reel, of a really good show reel, to show off very specific moments, scenes that you can get with a lot of shorts, student films even. I did some student films, and a lot of students in this town have great equipment, very knowledgeable, very creative people. And even if it's for free, so what? But it's not even for free, because you get the scene.
Yeah, to me, there's no question.
Exactly.
If you're starting out, the best thing is to embrace all of that.
Exactly.
Embrace it.
Exactly.
I've seen actors say no to things because they weren't getting paid a certain amount.
Yeah.
I saw this process for me as the thing I was going to do if I didn't do the acting. I was going to pursue a master's or PhD in psychology. That's what I was going to go. That's what I was starting to pursue.
Interesting.
And I know with that, you need to put in, say, 3,000 hours.
Right.
That is mostly unpaid.
Right.
To then get your degree. So I looked at the acting, this development period, when you start, you're developing, as that period where I don't expect to be paid, but I do need to get my tools together so that I can graduate out of into a different level, maybe, and
I'm glad you say that.
To me, getting paid is not something I could even have as a deciding factor.
Right.
And as a result, it's allowed me to develop really great relationships with a lot of student filmmakers at the great film schools, and some things have been written for me, with me in mind, and is so generous to hear that, oh my gosh, wow, okay. And it's usually right in right in the type of thing that I would love to get a footage for.
Right.
I think that all has come through just embracing all of it, not feeling as though I'm better than, or I don't want, I shouldn't be doing this. I should only be focused on this. But if you don't have the materials, then where are you going to get them otherwise? Unless you're creating them yourself and you have the resources to do that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's what I did too, because I felt like, hey, I wrote that story, and I felt like, hey, I just want to make it a reality. I wanted to do this project, because I believed in the story.
You mean
yeah, for example, we did a boxing movie, right? And you played the coach.
Well, what about the first one?
Yeah, the first one even better. I was just directing it, I wasn't acting it, but you did a phenomenal job.
Well, you wrote it.
I did wrote it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I did write it. That's true. Yeah, you got it. But the thing is, what I wanted to say, because interesting, we're talking about this one show reel, this one scene, and that's exactly how I found you, by the way. I did my research. I went online. I was looking at different actors, and then your scene came along. there was this one scene, this one intense scene that you have, I think, where you play with this, where you are like a husband and you have your wife in this one room.
What was that, when I threatened her?
Yeah, when you kind of threaten her a little
that
bit.
Was, yeah.
And I saw that, and I saw your expression, and I said, that's it, you know, and that's what I mean by that. You have this one scene, and people look at that and say, yeah, that's the guy. That, and no question asked. That's pretty much what it is, you know?
Yeah, and even that one, that was from a television role.
Right.
That was a lead it was my first audition with my first agent.
Oh, nice.
And they sent me out for this show. And the audition room was full of people, and I was nervous, but I was ready.
Right.
You know, and I went in, and and it's my essence, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I could play these horrible husbands and whatever. And it was, you know, that whole experience allowed me to get that, you know, 7-second clip or whatever that clip was.
Right.
That became kind of my most powerful clip.
Really?
You know, to this day. I mean, it's such a perfect clip.
That's interesting.
You know, for the type of role
I can see that. It's a very powerful moment.
So, yeah, but it's funny that you saw that. And
But again, if you wouldn't have put that up online,
right.
Maybe I wouldn't have found you. You wouldn't have played the role that I had in mind for you, and all these kind of things just led to this one moment where I felt like, I got to reach out to you. That's the bottom line.
And you did.
You know?
I mean, you were incredibly generous,
So,
and I was still very kind of young in the in my on-camera acting.
But for me,
experience.
But the interesting thing is, I didn't feel that though.
No, you did
I didn't
not.
feel that way.
Yeah.
You know. So and I appreciate that I found that scene. I was like, oh, right, here we go, because I was really specifically looking for someone who has the specific expression in their face, which is, as you just say, the essence. You can't just certain things you cannot learn. You just have it or you don't. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
But by the way, coming back to one thing you just said, which is very interesting to me, because you had the business, right? Mm-hmm. Then you had the creative thing, and you had the mindset. You said mindset right now, which I find very, very interesting and very important, because it's interesting. When I came to this town, I realized, okay, you have your down periods. You know, you feel like, oh my God, well, why am I even doing this to me? You know, you know what I'm talking. I mean, we all have.
I have to say, I've never had that kind of a down period.
Really?
No, I've never questioned. Once I started, it felt like destiny.
I mean, I was never really.
No matter what I do, I mean, I'm not expecting to.
It's true. I was never really questioning myself per se. I was more questioning. Maybe more the environment, to be honest, because I'm always like, maybe that was too naive to think, but I was always like, why don't they see it? Why is the rest not seeing what the other one saw before? Why is but when you have this kind of low period when nothing is happening, maybe for a couple of weeks, you just start questioning like, oh my goodness, why is nothing happening? And you like feel like get a little nervous.
And that's
you know?
mindset, right? So how do you
exactly
protect yourself in those periods?
Exactly.
I've been like, I've never had that.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
But part of that is because I won't. I try not to attach to anything, or hold expectation.
That's a very good point. And I learned that.
Yeah,
I really learned. That's funny you say expectations, and I learned that over time. I feel like, okay, I definitely want to reach a certain level, and I would love to just do certain things. For me, it's all about being able to do certain projects, to play certain characters, to really fully live the creative side of me. That's really what I want to do. Yeah. And then at some point, you just have to understand that sometimes there is just something that maybe needs more time. So what I learned is patience too. It's also patience, because I feel like a lot of people these days, even including myself, need a lot of stuff too fast. They want everything very fast. Everything has to happen now, today and now. So
that's that perfectionist part of it.
That's true too. That's so true.
Can lead into a little impatience.
It's true, but I also feel like what also always gets me back on track. No, seriously. What always gets me back on track though is that I'm always thinking, okay, what if I would not do it anymore? How would I feel if I would just stop doing what I love doing? Mm-hmm. And that's always my answer, which gets me back on track, saying, okay, if I would just stop right now, which I would never do anyway. But if I'm just thinking about the question and ask myself, if I would stop here right now, how would I feel about my life and my future? And that's even always my answer.
Well, you're invested.
Right.
I mean, you have been fully invested.
Yeah.
You know, and whether or not you have times when you have to refuel.
Yeah.
Or take a vacation or take a break.
Exactly.
Or just refocus or repurpose whatever your goals are.
Right.
You know, you're fully invested.
Right.
You always have been since I've known you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You know, so I don't think you can help but be in it.
No, but I'm always thinking, like, at the end of it, it's funny we talk about that, because I'm always thinking it's up to us, to each and everyone, to understand, okay, at the end of the day, if you give up on yourself and if you don't think you have to continue this journey right now, then it's all over anyway. So because no one is doing it for you, you have to have, and talking about mindset, coming back to that, you have to have the right mindset, the way how you feel about yourself. I think you also have to learn to value yourself as well. Because because nothing is maybe happening for a couple of weeks doesn't mean anything personally to you.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people just take a lot of stuff very personal. I even did myself. I'll be honest with you, at the very beginning when I didn't get the part and I felt, okay, the audition was quite nice. I think I liked it. I think I nailed it. But I never heard back. I was like, really? Why? You know, why is that happening? Right, so I took it personal at the beginning, but then I just learned, hey, you go to an audition, you do your best, and then you just let go. You know? And I feel like that's something that you are really good at. You just come in, you do the best you can, you know, you prepare yourself, as you said, which is the key, obviously, and then you go out and you just let go. Would you agree on that? That you kind of do something like that?
Yeah, well, I'd say I've worked at getting there. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Right.
I think the whole idea of not having attachment or expectation is something you have to work on. and I have worked on that.
Yeah, me too.
And it has been very valuable for me as I've developed into where I'm at now.
Right.
Where I do not have, I don't hold on to any of that. But also too, I'm feeling confident in my preparation. I know I have, you know, I have ways to, you know, I still have things to learn. And
we all do.
You know. And
it's
things but I see it all getting better.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. You know, it's great now, and it all gets better. That's the way I look at it.
That's so healthy. I really love that.
But I'm not having, you know, but to get, you know, when I do an audition, there are times when I look at an audition. You have another tool I think that I find is important is being able to self-assess. You know, so if you know, to know what you need for skill, you know, what do I need to work on?
Right.
Invest that, you know, that whatever resource we have, the money, you know, money for class or whatever.
Yeah.
Or for the business side.
Yeah.
You know, to learn more about this or that.
Yeah.
You know, you may need to put some focus into that.
Right.
But
no, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, I feel like just be true to yourself. You know, that's what I'm always saying. It sounds very cliche what I'm saying right now, but I really mean that. I feel like you can't just lose yourself in this kind of industry that we call Hollywood and the film industry in general. Right? I think you still have to understand that you are a human being, you know, and that you kind of like you're like valuable as a human being, you know, because I feel like a lot of, even myself sometimes, you get like get in this kind of environment within yourself where you feel like, oh my God, and it almost feels like that the whole career thing is kind of not controlling, but it's kind of navigating your whole life. You know, that's how I felt. I have to say, at the beginning, I was like, okay, I have to calm down a little bit too. I'm a perfectionist, as you know, right? And I always try to be on top of everything. But I think you also have to understand, hey, this is part of your life, but there are also other things in life that are also equally important too. And I think and I feel like learning about the other sides too, on the personal level, friendships, love, relationships, you know, partner in life, whatever it means to you to be fulfilled, I think makes you even a better actor too at the end of the day.
No, I'd agree.
You know, it's just, and I feel like sometimes, I personally, when I was younger, I was like, career. You know, seriously, I was like, okay, there's nothing else. You know, I got to move on. I just want to make that happen. I want to achieve that. That's my goal, and I got to work towards my goal.
Yes.
But then again, when you become, that was me at least, when you become older, you realize that there's something else in life too, you know? And as soon as I realized that, and I was taking on much more, and was not really going like that, was more like this, I learned so much about myself, even about different cultures, even coming to different countries. It's so funny that we talk about. I just have to make that point because it's very interesting, and I would like to hear your opinion on that. What I learned is that when I moved to different countries, I learned so much about culture and people and mentalities and everything.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I even realized, because of realizing all of that and recognizing, observing everything, I learned even more about myself. That was very interesting to me. I learned more about myself, what you really want in life, what you don't want, even what you don't want, you learn, which is kind of what we call as the life experience, I think.
Yeah.
And I feel like without doing that, without having comparison to other things in life, it's hard to understand who you really are. That's how I feel, and that made me personally doing all these things that I did, not just in the film industry, but living life and just doing certain things, I believe made me a better actor too, because you can pull from certain things too and life experience. So how would you feel about? How do you feel about this thing that I just the life connected to acting too in a way?
Yeah, I mean it goes to talking about being able to self-assess and build and taking your life experience and utilizing it.
Right.
So many times we're not even thinking about what we've, how something has impacted, say, a role that we prepared for, or a scene that we've done, or or whatever. It's so important. I think having the richest kind of life experience is going to definitely be a treasure to tap into when you're an actor, or a writer, or a filmmaker,
you can pull. That's just what I learned,
But with your travel, you've gained a lot of
that it's so
ability
true.
to understand people, cultures, have compassion, have empathy.
Exactly.
I mean, it adds to understanding humanity.
Exactly.
And
it's so true.
And as an actor, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to get tomorrow or tonight. It can be any kind of character, and I'm going to be ready to play that range of humanity.
Right.
And it's a real, it's kind of just this wonderful thing to be able to do that and be ready to take that on whenever. And that all comes from my life experience.
Totally.
There's nothing that, I forget the quote, but there's nothing that I am, that's unknown to me as far as the range of humanity or human experience. As an actor, I'm ready to play. I'll have my certain things I won't do or whatever, if it's, offensive or whatever. I mean, there might be things I may not choose to do, as any actor will have that. But I'm talking about just the range of humanity and the human experience. That's what we tell, in our films, for television, for theater, in our stories and writing. And they're so important. It transforms people. It changes lives.
Totally. Even even talk about experience. I'm not just talking about the good experience, because you also make bad experience in life. You just live through certain moments in life that you don't understand at the point, but which make you a better, stronger person in any kind of life circumstance. I believe. Because it's interesting. And I even learned that myself, because if you always just have the bright side of life, which obviously we always want to have the bright side of life. Don't get me wrong; it's a good thing to be happy in everything. But I feel like the challenging moments that we feel in life, that we kind of face in life, I think those are the moments that really get us to the next level. I really truly believe that. That's the point. That's the moment when you grow in any way. Seriously, and especially also as an actor. Because I believe, I even feel that myself, like every time when I'm on set even, just talking about a moment when you are on set, by the way, that's also something I wanted to ask you. I feel like, oh my God, we're almost running out of time, but I just wanted to ask you that, because I have moments on set sometimes where I feel like, I could have done that differently. I felt like, but now we're done. Now we're basically setting up the next scene. Now I can't really go back.
Right.
And these are the moments where I'm always feeling like when you realize them, when you really feel like, okay, I could have done something different, or a scenario or whatever, even if it's without like not in your hands, in life. I think reflecting on what happened, even if it's not the most positive thing, you can always take something from it. I truly believe that, So how do you feel about that, especially on set now, taking the example? Do you have moments when you feel like, I could have done that differently? And if you do, what does that to you? Like, how does that change you maybe even?
Yeah, I mean that has happened, and part of that is if there's an insecurity that I'm feeling in coming into it, and I put so much trust into a director and a cinematographer.
Oh,
I mean, the DP and the director. To me, I kind of am I'm hopefully connected with them, where I could put my trust in them. So any decisions that are made. I may ask a question here or there. Are you sure? Here's an idea. What do you think? Or I'll, depending on the set. Or I'll just let them. They've shown me that they've got it, and they've got something that they want. I'm good with that. So I disattach. I don't attach to it.
That's strong.
So I let that go. But I did a short that seemed to it did get some. People seem to really love this short, and we did it so quickly. It was for a film festival. I think they conceived it, and then we shot it. They cast it, shot it, edited it, sent it in I think 7 days. And it won second place global for a global short film contest for North America.
Wow!
So it was quite an achievement for that film, and it's a great little film. But there was no time. We were rewriting right up until we were on camera, and then. But I had such a great relationship with everybody, with the director and everybody. So, but they saw what they're like. I said, can't do one more, and ultimately I never did get to feel as though I gave my best performance, but it's not up to me. I have a DP and I have a director who are watching this through another lens and going, we got it. And then when they cut it and people are responding to it, it's an opportunity for me to then go, oh wow, okay, so I don't necessarily have to worry too much if I'm coming in prepared. I came in prepared with character. I came in prepared with all of the things I was mentioning earlier. Got the lines, you have the lines. And you're in your circumstance. Maybe I would have liked to have said the lines quicker in certain areas, the pacing. But the way that it's become kind of a little cult little film, for people that have seen it. And I'm very proud of that, but I am amazed at it because it's a way I've been able to then go, oh wow, I don't have to attach to it really. I mean, I can let that go and trust those that are actually telling that story.
So you didn't expect the outcome, which was actually shown then at the end of the day on screens. But that's so interesting, and I think like sometimes I have to do that even more. It's interesting you say that. I think sometimes it's good to just detach yourself a little bit, because if someone tells you, hey, that's exactly what we wanted, that's what we need, we can move on, you just have to trust it. Just go with that. And don't be too like overwhelming about something that didn't work out for you because you just feel like it.
And that doesn't happen too often.
But it's good to know.
Many times, especially if I'm working with young, kind of beginning filmmakers who are, I have to say, I've been working with just amazing talents.
Your projects look always great, seriously. I mean, even the cinematography and everything I see is like beautiful.
Seriously. But even working with you, I mean, the way we did that film Against All Odds, I mean...
Wow, that was tough.
I mean, my God, right?
That was a tough...
No, but shooting. I mean, I think... it's like it was so hot in there in the box, and you were acting you weren't directing, but you were
right.
in a way wrangling.
That was rough, yeah.
And then it was like 3 a.m.
I know.
Finally,
That
it's
was
like, okay, Matthew, we're doing these big scenes now.
I
and
know.
It's like,
and everyone's
wow, okay,
really now? Are you sure?
and that too, I felt like I wish I had more takes, but the way that we did it was so quick and in the moment that it kind of brought. We were able to then get right into the circumstance of the story,
right,
in a way, and it was interesting what I saw. I mean, I when I saw myself in that film,
right,
in your film, I didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize myself, and I love that when I can see a character that I'm like, oh wow, I didn't,
right, yeah.
I've never seen myself do that before, or be that kind of spirit before. And there are parts of me that says, oh, I wish I did.
Right.
I wish I know. But there's some really nice moments that we had.
Right, for sure.
With that.
For sure.
You won Best Actor, right? Didn't you?
I think for this one, I think I can't even remember. Yeah,
you
but
did.
for
Yes,
sure,
you
yeah,
did.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, I think we're almost running out of time.
Are
I
we?
just see that.
We can't go
before we
hour.
end, I just wanted to ask you, and I asked everyone the same question because I feel like a lot of people just want to know. Okay, I'm not an actor yet. I haven't done much. Honestly, what advice would you give to anybody right now? Let's say someone is watching the podcast and feels like, hey, you know what? I always wanted to do it. What would you say from your experience should be the first step, the very, very first step, if let's say if you've never done any acting whatsoever, but you have kind of desire to do it? What would you say is the first thing?
The advice that I've heard from some great people, legend, say, do it in the place that you're at. Try to find an opportunity in the place that you are. If you're in a small town somewhere, try to, get into your local community theater and do something.
Right.
If you're in Hollywood, try to create something yourself, maybe. It's so easy to do that, right? And that at least gets you started in doing projects. Whether they're good or not, I don't think it really matters, you know. And if you can create a YouTube or something, I don't know. But I would say most people probably have had some sort of acting assessment of themselves, some experience.
Right.
I don't know how many people that are interested in acting here have never had any acting experience.
Yeah, I mean that's a very specific place.
Yeah. But I would say for those people, find opportunities where you're at.
So start locally and then build your way up. Pretty much.
Well, that's what and then
it makes sense.
what somebody very legendary said. And people will let you know whether you're good. Or not,
for sure.
In that arena, and then you can figure out how you want to go from there.
Right.
And the same with my experience here. People will let you know whether they're enjoying your performance, whether it's impactful, whether it's good. Directors will let you know.
Right.
They'll let you know whether they want to work with you again or not.
Right. Yeah.
It's to me it's something to embrace and really enjoy that whole ride.
Right.
Get into class. Get into class. That's what I did. That was the first thing I did.
That's right.
Just try to find a studio that you feel like you'd be comfortable in.
Right.
And then they'll let you know.
Just throw yourself in there and
But they will let you know. They placed me in a certain class based on that first meeting. And then I was able to then kind of go from there and
Awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Matthew,
work.
Thank you so much for being here.
Ben, thanks for inviting me.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But before we end, how can people actually find you if they want to follow you online? What is the best way to connect with you?
I would say Instagram. Mm-hmm. So
what is your full
my
name?
Instagram is @actorlife22.
Nice. So, that's him. He's living the actor life. There you go. Awesome.
Actorlife22. DM me or whatever.
Right.
And, if you have any questions or whatever.
Awesome. If you want to cast him, obviously, right, for a project, please.
Amazing.
No, honestly, thank you so much. I mean, we see each other soon anyway. No worries.
No, it's great to see you.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, right? And also to the audience, if you guys want to know more about it, please get in touch with Matthew or myself, right? You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, or even on YouTube, obviously, @Benjamin Schnau, SCHNAU. And I'm going to see you guys next time to a new episode when it really is again about the reality of Hollywood. So stay tuned and stay real, people. Bye-bye.